welcome to Bork. My name is Pri and today we're at the London Coffee Festival where we will be exploring which of your daily morning fix has a more sustainable flavour. Rely on a cup of tea or a cup of coffee to perk ourselves up or even give us a boost in the mornings. I think it's like a ritual for some, or dare I say even an obsession for some people. For me personally, I consider myself to be more of a tea person. I think that's because of me growing up in Nepal, in Asia, and the fact that Nepal is close to India, which is one of the largest tea producers in the world. I think that's where I got it from. And for us, growing up, it was a case of, oh, would you like a cup of tea? Not a case of asking whether you have a choice between tea or coffee. So I've drunk tea most of my life. But I think having said that, now I'm transitioning into slowly becoming a coffee lover now. So I would say it's a mixture of both for me, although I tend to go more towards the tea early in the mornings. So today we're here at the London Coffee Festival where we'll be talking to a few sustainable brands about their sustainability journey and what they're doing to protect the environment going forward. But before we do that, let's talk about how tea and coffee is produced. Let's talk tea production. You might not believe this, but all tea, they come from the same plant. That's black, green, oolong, and everything in between. They come from this tea plant called Camellia sinensis. So after that's plucked, it is taken to the factory for processing. And usually these factories are quite close to where the tea plantations are to ensure that the leaves are as fresh as possible. And one interesting fact is actually that the 24 hours between when the leaves are plucked and packed is actually really crucial, because that's when they determine whether the tea is green or black, or if it's decaffeinated or caffeinated. So all these decisions are made within those 24 hours, which I thought was quite interesting. In terms of water use, to produce a 250 ml cup of tea, it needs around 27 litres of water. And in the UK alone, we drink lots of cups of tea. 165 million cups consumed daily. So that's a huge amount, which means a lot of water is being used, not just in the UK, but across the globe for tea production. And the top 5 countries where tea is being produced are China, India, Kenya, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam. So what kind of environmental impacts does this have? Across the globe, in certain countries, the ones I mentioned earlier as well, large parts of the forests have been cleared out for these tea plantations, which can result to a loss of habitat. Tea production, all in all, also has an effect on deforestation. There have also been water shortages. Like we mentioned, it uses a lot of water, so water shortages in some of these countries, and also droughts in some of the countries, because a lot of water is actually needed to maintain these plants. Now let's talk coffee production. Coffee comes from a plant called coffea. The beans are actually classed as berries and they're called coffee cherries. You might know that the top coffee producing country is Brazil, and it's followed by Vietnam, Colombia, Indonesia, and Ethiopia. So these coffee cherries, as they're called, they're mostly picked by hand, and in terms of production, they go through either 2 processes, a dry process or a wet process. So if we go through the 2 processes, so the dry method, it's the coffee cherries are left out in the sun to dry for about 15 to 20 days. The skin is taken off and then it's roasted. Whereas in the wet method, as the name suggests, it is soaked in water. It's then processed in a pulping machine, and it's then washed and dried, and it goes through similar processes depending on what it's made eventually. So what's the difference between the wet and dry? In terms of the taste, they claim that the dry coffee is actually more bitter and smoother, and the wet process that it goes through, the coffee eventually comes out to be less bitter and also fruitier. And if you know what process it's gone through, maybe you might be able to tell the difference. You might have figured this already, coffee production does use a lot of water, so I thought I'd give you some facts. So for one standard European cup of coffee, which is about 125 ml, it requires 140 liters of water, and that is for the production of the coffee beans as well as the processing as well. So when you compare this with the tea production that I mentioned earlier, the production of one cup of coffee uses more than 5 times the amount of water when you compare it with tea. And in the UK alone, we now drink 95 million cups of coffee per day. So both the production of tea and coffee has a huge impact on both the carbon and the water footprint. But there are manufacturers out there who are making an effort and playing their part in becoming greener and more sustainable. And as I mentioned earlier, we spoke to a few companies at the London Coffee Festival about whether sustainability is their cup of tea or coffee. Let's find out what they had to say. So we're here today talking to Andy from Tea Pigs, and we're trying some of the new popcorn tea, I think. So cheers. Cheers. That is boiling hot, but very nice. Very nice. Very interesting flavour. Sure. But we're here today talking about sustainability. Yeah. So Andy, could you tell us a little bit about Tea Pig's sustainability agenda and what the company is trying to do to be sustainable and environmentally friendly? Sure.
Well, when Tea Pig started nearly 13 years ago, we wanted to make sure that people were drinking better tea. So whole leaf teas, herbs and spices sourced from premium plantations around the world. And we've also tried to make sure that the packaging has lived up to the same quality as the tea itself and the final product. We've never had plastic in the bags. They've always been a biodegradable cornstarch. And then 18 months ago, 2 years ago, when the Blue Planet came out with David Attenborough, that programme, we were getting all the calls in saying, have you got plastic in your bags? And we sort of just said, well, no, we never have, because why would you? And it's been interesting that now a lot of companies are scrambling together to say, oh, we're going to be plastic free by 2020, whereas we sort of then had to say, oh, we've never had it, because why would you? Yeah. But now what we're doing is as well with the rest of the packaging, we were the first company to get this, which is the Plastic Free Trust Mark. Right. So a charity called the Plastic Planet gave us that. We were the first tea company to get it, to say that all of our packaging is plant-based. Right. So this is recycled cardboard, and this used to be plastic, this used to be a polypropylene, but now it's something called NatureFlex. Right. NatureFlex is a byproduct of wood pulp. So this could be used, you could compost that. We want to make sure that all of our packaging is recyclable, reusable, or biodegradable in that respect. Okay. And yeah, we're just hoping that more and more people can follow that as well.
We're here today with Philip from Brodies Sustainability, and he'll be talking to us about what the business is doing in terms of sustainability and caring for the environment. Yep. So, Philip, could you talk us through some of those aspects of the company?
Certainly. So, Brodies is, so although this is the coffee festival, Brodies is also a tea company. So we manufacture tea bags in-house, which gives us obviously a lot of control over the elements that go into it. So one of the things that we've done is we've removed the staple from the tag and envelope tea bags, because that's a piece of metal that we don't need to have in there. So we have a knotting unit now which knots the tea bags. San Marco, which is a sister company within the group, has launched a range of compostable coffee pods. So obviously the little capsules, everybody knows an issue environmentally, throwing things away. Although you can collect and recycle, the best way is if we do it in a compostable solution.
We're here talking with Sam from the Blue Bean Coffee Company, and you're going to be telling us about some of the sustainability aspects. Yeah. So can you talk us through that?
Yeah, so we start the process obviously purchasing the green beans direct from the farmers, so obviously sustainability there, it's a main focus of ours as well, but then the process continues all the way through. So the way we roast the coffee, so we roast a convection roaster, so we use a lot less energy than a traditional roaster. Also the convection roaster runs on renewable energy as well, so we're very kind of looking at that kind of part as well through. Not only does it stop there, the way we package our coffee as well, so we're very focused on the way we package and obviously get to our customers, so we use omni-degradable packaging. So that means that basically the easiest way to describe it is that it has the same properties as like an apple core, so it'll break down in water, in landfill, and if you put it just outside, within 6 months it'll break down. We're trying to do our little part of our customers. We give them the option of the omni-degradable bags, or buckets, reusable buckets as well is a big focus as well. So it's just kind of eliminating that kind of waste aspect and everything. You can take that further as well. So obviously with coffee, when you're grinding coffee beans, you extract the coffee, and then you've obviously got ground coffee, which is like a waste product. But we're taking it another level now. We actually partner with a company called BioBean, so turning the ground coffee into biodiesel and alternative fuels as well. So really trying to limit every part of waste all the way through the whole kind of process. That's a kind of big focus of ours.
So I'm sure you'll agree that it's great that some of the companies out there are playing their part and doing their bit to save the environment and protect the future, the planet for future generations. And they're continuing to do so as we move towards this low carbon future and tackle climate change as well in the process. But unfortunately, we couldn't find conclusive evidence in sussing out whether tea is better or coffee is better for the environment. There's actually not much research, not much evidence out there. So we won't be able to give you a conclusive answer on that one. So this is something that will have to be explored, and hopefully in the near future there will be more evidence on this. So what can you do? So when you're making a cup of tea or a cup of coffee at home or in your office, just make sure you have just the right amount of water you need for that cup of tea or coffee. So you're not using excess water, because that would mean also using a lot of energy when you boil the water in your kettles. Also what you can do is use biodegradable materials. So those packaging that comes, the tea and coffee comes in, you can source from companies that are sustainable in terms of their packaging. And also another thing you can do, which you can also save money in the long run, is use sustainable cups, so reusable cups instead of those plastic cups. So when you go to get your coffee at Starbucks the next time, you can use one of those reusable cups, where you can also get discounts for your cuppa. So that's it from me here today. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. But wait, before you put the kettle on, don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button.